It's such an honor to meet a gentleman such as Elson McDougald. Today we talk about inclusion. We talk about the right to just do things together. And what he did in the past with the nations that he dealt with under Western Lakota was he gave the opportunity to the First Nations to make money in services. Giving 50% option to a First Nation as part of a drilling rig. Creating a drilling rig program for our First Nations was tremendous, and it was definitely precedent before its time. And now you're seeing industry do the same thing now with opening the door to opportunities, not just jobs, but ownership as well. And that's tremendous. And it definitely set up some of the nations with their own oil and gas companies and their own services. And I think a lot of the First Nations that had the opportunity created a lot of wealth.
Elson McDougald, a visionary. We actually Frog Lake, the four First Nations in Northeast Alberta bought a rig with precision drilling. We went 50% with precision drilling to start drilling during the early 80s when oil prices were skyrocketing and things were going ballistic in Alberta. Well, we tried to get positioned to do more deals with other First Nations. That was it. They didn't want to go there. But Elson McDougald came along and he had the vision to go and partner with First Nations right across Western Canada. I don't know if we got Saskatchewan, but certainly in Alberta, we dealt with the Métis, dealt with First Nations, and he built this huge company. I think it's called Lakota Drilling, and they've done extremely well. Proved the game that First Nations can be very successful in this business. So I take my hat off to Elson for being such a visionary and working with First Nations, making a lot of First Nations wealthy.
Well, you know what? He's another one, and just being a visionary, being able to see and to help First Nations people was kind of his philosophy, because there's a lot of people that understand the hardships our people have been through, and I think he's one of them. That's been an ally of ours to try and to help us First Nations people overcome poverty and to take our rightful place in this place we call Canada.
Well, Elson McDougald, also I've known him from the days when he was the president and CEO of Savanah Energy. And Savanah Energy was very progressive. It's one of the first companies that actually got First Nations involved in the drilling business. Savanah Energy was a drilling company. One of our board members, I recall clearly, Chief James Annecy, brought Elson, introduced him to us, and Elson said, "Look, I've got this proposal to involve First Nations that are interested in the drilling business. I can help them find the money. We can do like a joint venture with whoever is interested." And the oil and gas business was booming at the time. They said, "There's a lot of work. There's a lot of drilling work." So Elson gave us examples. He had done a joint venture with the Dene up north. And so we introduced him to the Bloods. We introduced him to Musquechees, Beamer, and Saddle Lake, and I believe Onion Lake. And they all bought into this joint venture. I think it was a 50-50 joint venture with Elson. And Elson provided all the infrastructure. He provided the drilling rigs, the service rigs. He did all the training, and he got the contracts at the time. Encana, it was called Encana. I forget the predecessor to Encana. They guaranteed work to these drilling rigs. So when the drilling rig was set up at the Bloods, there was work from the companies, the producers, to utilize these rigs, and he made a lot of money for the First Nations. So a lot of similar joint ventures in the last few years have followed that model. That Elson, he's always been very much on the side of First Nations, and I'm so happy that we are finally recognizing Elson for that work.